Today I'll be picking an Abloy Classic. This one is a padlock format. It's the 3045 padlock, which is an older format. You might have seen the newer, like 330 style, very silver and shiny. This one's not as shiny, but still very nice. Got a custom-made Abloy Classic pick. This was quite a challenge to make, but hopefully it works to get this lock open. Just starting off by setting all the discs all the way clockwise. I used a tool before to do that, but just double checking. And then the bottom disc is binding. Just giving that a bit of a jiggle. Yeah, okay, I think that's set. Bit disappointed that it's taken me this long to get this padlock open. I've had it for over a year, and when I got it, it was ranked as red belt, which it still is, but if you used a custom tool to open it, you could count it as black belt. So this would have been my first black belt lock had I opened it when I got it sometime, I think it was the end of 2021, so yeah, over a year ago. But that's alright, it's still my first red belt anyway. Process for making the custom tool was a bit of a hassle. I had multiple iterations of all the parts, like the tensioner and the picking tip. I think I had in total 3 attempts at making the tensioner. It was only the third one that I finally got the hang of it, and 2 iterations on the picking tip. I think the first time I made the picking tip, I let it get too hot when I was grinding away the metal, and what that meant was that I think it changed the properties and the metal became really soft, which is not what you want in a pick. So redid that very meticulously, making sure it didn't get too hot, which meant it took basically all day. Started off doing the bulk work with a grinder, then a smaller polishing stone to take away a bit more, and then ended up finishing off with hand files, which I think the files I had were pretty poor quality because it took ages to actually get any material off. But that was probably a good thing because it meant I didn't rush and take too much material off, which would have been disastrous because I'd have to start all over again. So even after I thought I'd finished making the picking tip, I then had to do a few minor adjustments, round off some edges, make the shaft a little bit thinner so that it didn't rub up against the discs too much. So it was kind of an iterative process. I'd try and pick it, fail, figure out why it wasn't working, grind off or file off a bit more material, repeat, and yeah, I think I've gotten at the stage where I can pick it in reasonably consistently. But then I think having a better picking tip probably would help a bit more too. One of the other things that took me a while to figure out is because this lock's in a padlock format, it's got a little spring that compresses the disc stack so that the discs are always compressed together. Because I think the cam formats just rely on the housing being rigid enough that this spacing never changes. So they don't have that spring, which means I don't think the disc stack is actually compressed as much. And it means with the padlock, you do have to sometimes push in with the tensioner to the bottom of the lock to compress that spring and allow the disc pack to loosen up a bit, so you get a bit more room to slide the pick between each level of the discs, which took me a while to figure out, but once I got there, that definitely made it easier. The other thing was just getting a feel for the different feedback, like what's binding, what requires a little bit of, sometimes requires a little bit of manual counter rotation. You know, relax tension to turn the discs, but sometimes it'll like bite into the sidebar really tightly, especially when you're getting close to the end, and you actually have to manually counter rotate to push the sidebar back up again, which is something it took me a while to figure out, but once I got there.
Hey, there we go.
Just got to get this tool out now.
Come on. Alright, let's have a look what's inside. Just gotta remove the grub screw. Okay. So we'll keep them all face up.